Okay, now I'm going to make you the host again.
Right.
So that you can start as so we can go live.
Okay.
It's very complicated, guys.
We're going to switch to a new thing in the off season, and so we can actually do everything live from YouTube and Twitch and all that there. But we were just like, it's going to be too complicated to do.
Yeah.
No.
Ball caps and bagpipes will be expanding big time for season 4.
Oh, I chatted to Donna again, John. She says hello.
Oh, excellent. Tell her I said hi.
I will.
I love her. She's a lovely woman.
I ended up like sending her messages like almost like a couple times a week now. So.
Oh dear. Should Lisa be worried?
No. It's a lot of dirty chat. Like, where do you get your pens to get people to autograph baseball cards? Do you have Matt Costello's number so I can ring him? I don't think so. All right, are we good? Should we jump in and do this?
Absolutely. Are we streaming to Facebook yet?
No, not yet. I was just I actually wrote the title out before just to make sure, and we'll do it here. Any questions, Andy, before we go?
I know that I watched the show, so I know the format. I'll keep quiet unless I'm spoken to.
Oh, yeah, no worries. All right. Yeah, like I said, you know the format. It's not a big deal there. What was his name? Oh gosh, who was it? It was Ivan. Ivan was like, yeah, he was like, can you send me the list of questions? I was like, no, there's no list of questions. I'll
be fine.
Yeah.
He
was really worried about it. I was like, look, man, it's just a conversation. Don't worry about it.
So interestingly, Jason, I've run a podcast for the last 4 years.
Yep.
And when you do it often enough, and you guys will be in the spot now that it's no big deal, you just turn up and do it. But because this isn't my podcast and I'm guesting on yours, I've been really nervous for the last couple hours. Because it's fine not taking your own one seriously or being blasé about it, but someone else's not serious. Like
all I'll say this right now, Jason, is he should be nervous.
You did the deep dive on his profile, looking back at pictures of 2013. We'll be all right. All right, we're going live.
One second, boys. Got it.
Let's see. Got the.
All right then, lads. Let's get started. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ball Caps and Bagpipes, a Scottish baseball podcast. I am the Glasgow Comets, John McKellar.
And I'm Jason Durr, former league president and Baseball Scotland Hall of Famer.
League president, Hall of Famer, Edinburgh Cannon.
And McCann. I was repping him. I was repping him the other day.
Tops. Come on, man! You're selling yourself short every week. How many times do you keep doing this?
Well, this is just the Baseball Scotland podcast. We'll worry about dugout classics and tea and tops and Bubba another time there. This week, we said it's just Scottish baseball. Let's chat about Scottish baseball.
It is, and we have a lot to chat about. We have crowned our champions for 2021. We'll get into that shortly when we talk the scores. But first, let's introduce just this week's guest. We're joined by one of my teammates, the lovely Andy Vaughn. Say hello.
Hi, John. How you doing? Hi, Jason. Pleasure to be on.
It's absolutely brilliant to have you, mate, and looking forward to talking to you about not just obviously your time this season with the Comets in the last couple of years, but how you got involved with baseball, as well as a wee bit about your other interests and pursuits, which aren't entirely dissimilar to Jason and I. So we'll get into that in a bit. I want to say, though, that we first off get into the scores from this past weekend, Jason.
Great. So do you want to go? I will go into the Cannons game because that was an interesting one there.
So here's a wee peek behind the curtain at how I usually do it. I usually bring up Baseball Scotland's Facebook post and do it in that order.
You're giving me live advice here, so I thought I would do at least the Cannons and Tayport game, and we'd end on the Devils.
So as it happens, the Cannons and Breakers game is the first one, so just forget I said that.
So yeah, so we've got a lot of news there. So big news, of course. You had Harris. He struck out 16 guys in the game, including an immaculate inning in the fourth. So if you're not sure what an immaculate inning means, it means you threw 9 strikes in a row and got struck out the whole side there. So he was actually named BSUK Player of the Week earlier today as well. So that was big news from there. They were saying the Cannons' bats were consistent, really putting the ball in play. Aggressive base running, always caught them out a few times here and there. And no one from a bad player stood out, but everyone had a few hits in the day. Tayport was excellent. There was some solid pitching in that. And Xing Yan of the Devils showed up and played for the Tayport team.
Oh, interesting.
That
was allowed anymore.
Well, so he's moved up to 5 because he is, I should say, Professor Xing Yan is up that way now because he's obviously at St. Andrews and he came on down and played for Tayport. So we could have developing news out of Tayport. It could be a long time thing for there. Could it be that key player they need to kind of bring them up a level? So, what an addition at the second to last game of the season.
When you look at Xing Yan, you're looking at the guy who probably was the cornerstone of the last Devils dynasty.
Absolutely.
Won 3 straight years, or maybe was it 3 or 4 straight years that they won before the Galaxy's run started. And Xing Yan was probably the cornerstone of that. He was a very solid, valuable pitcher for them. So if Tayport can manage to convince him to come along long term, obviously he's a pretty busy guy. He's got commitments at St. Andrews University that are going to take a lot of his attention away from baseball. But if they can get him to play every week, he might just be that missing piece, like you say.
I think that could be the case. I think you do whatever you can to get Xing Yan to come down and help bring that team up just that little bit more and make them competitive there. So if he's in for the rest of the season, including that next month, that could be a dangerous Tayport team that can finally get that first win of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only the first win of the season, but a perfect timing for a cup run. Obviously they are going to finish last in the league this year, but I think with the way that it's set up, all 6 teams will be in the postseason.
Yes, it is. So Paul confirmed, Paul Convoy League president had confirmed 1 and 2 get a bye and 3 plays 6 and 4 plays 5. So it's all shaping up there. Obviously the Devils, we'll talk about it a little bit there. I have locked up the season and now it's a battle for who gets the bye at number 2 in the league. Definitely.
Absolutely. And like we say, Xing Yan, for him to come along, if he's going to be there every week, what a time for him to come along. For Tayport, they go from being like without a win pretty much all season, and it looks unlikely that they're going to get a win in the 2021 season at this point, unfortunately for them. But then they go into the Caledonia Cup tournament with the addition of Xing Yan, and obviously they make good contact. If they can start to score some runs at the right time and have him as the backbone, they might just turn the season around in a major way when it comes to the Caledonia Classic.
It's going to make things interesting for sure. So exciting times there. May not have been the best season there. First season's almost in the books, but what a good time to get an addition like Xing Yan.
Definitely, and it bodes well for next season and beyond. Let's move on then to the Glasgow game. The game in Glasgow, it was the Granite City Oilers who travelled down with probably, Andy, you can probably confirm, make sure you were at the game. I would say probably a bit of a diluted Aberdeen squad.
I would even go as far as depleted.
They had a lot of key components missing. That being said, though, the Comets really turned on the offensive power. 37-2, the final score in Glasgow in favour of the Comets. That's one of the biggest results that we've seen this year. It might be the biggest one that we've seen this season. By no means is it the biggest that we've ever seen, but it's very close to it. A massive win for the Comets. It looks like everyone on the entire bench got a hit and an RBI in the game, I believe. Every
one of the 12 players that played in a Comets jersey that day got at least one hit and at least one RBI. So don't know how often that happens, but it was a good day. It was a good day for our bats.
Yeah, an astonishing result. We're going to go into the game in a wee bit more detail shortly, Andy. But yeah, like Jason, a few players down. The Oilers came down to Glasgow
and lost by 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's a massive scoreline. You don't see that as often now with the way that things have changed. Obviously, with the A ball and AAA, there's more parity between the different teams and the different divisions that they're in. So to see a batting performance like that from the Comets, who I last saw 2 weeks ago or 2 Sundays ago in Edinburgh when we were beaten by the Devils, it's almost like night and day of a difference. We would have liked to, I think, to spread those runs out over the two, but when you get a chance to win as big as that, it's a real momentum booster. It can be a real boon to the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we are looking to clinch that second spot this coming weekend, and obviously the make-up week, and we're looking to make a good account of ourselves in the Glasgow, in the Caledonia Cup tournament, and get into that Caledonia Classic and hopefully lift that trophy for the first time. So good momentum booster, nice shot in the arm at this time of the season that we probably needed after the loss in Edinburgh. Quite a that loss pretty much counted us out of being able to win the title this year, and so to be able to come back like that is a massive statement of intent, and it shows exactly how different the Comets are mentality-wise than we would have been maybe 2 seasons ago, where a big loss like that would then lead to, shall we say, Andy, heads dropping.
Potentially.
Yeah. In years past, we've had some issues with psychologically in terms of how we rebounded. So to see that, I was very proud to see that scoreline of the guys, and hopefully that bodes well for this coming Sunday, the final weekend of the regular season, and if we meet the Oilers again in the cup, hopefully they'll be as depleted as they were this time.
And you want to put the best team out there each time. Like I said, you want to win against the full lineup there. So I understand, like I said, you're going to have games like that here and there, and traveling's always been a complaint for people there. Just remember, it's only a 3-hour drive. We used to drive 5 hours normally to play doubleheaders, so you can't complain too much there. But it sucks when you lose like that.
Really does, yeah. Let's move on to what's probably ought to be called the game of the weekend and possibly game of the season, considering what was at stake. The Edinburgh Diamond Devils were, I believe, down by 5 runs late to the Glasgow Galaxy. They rallied and won in walk-off fashion 9-8 to become the 2021 Scottish National League Baseball champions. Very well done to the Edinburgh Devils, to Ivan, to Sylvain, and to everyone there. Kyle as well, who's had a tremendous season. So from ball caps and bagpipes, myself and yourself, Jason, congratulations, hearty congrats to the Edinburgh Diamond Devils. They, I think, have been all-rounders this year. They've been, by and large, the best team each week that we've gone along. They started strongly. They've managed to maintain that consistently. Towards, I think, the second half especially, they became even better in the field and from a pitching standpoint. So I think to see them come back to prominence and win that title back from Glasgow, who held it 3 years in a row, is quite a story, and I think a well-deserved title.
So it's interesting. So these things go in threes. The Cannons won the first 3. The Devils won 3. You guys won 3, and now we'll see if the Devils can go on another 3-year run for the title or not. So game report there. So they said it was a close game. Obviously, ending in the 7th inning, Glasgow was up by 8-3. In the 7th, it went all pear-shaped. There was 3 pitching changes, 2 walks, 4 hit by pitches, and 4 hits. One of the hits being a bases cleared triple by Leo Hernandez, and walked it off for the Devils. I guess it was won by infield hit by Kyle Huffey. So what a dramatic way to actually win the game there. And I'm sure that was a boost to Kyle's confidence. I'm sure it's soaring, and he's high as a kite, I'm sure, for doing that, both figuratively and literally. Sorry, I had to get that in there. I could not pass that one up.
I don't know what you're trying to imply there, but let's move swiftly on. Very, very massive congratulations to the Edinburgh Diamond Devils on a very good campaign, and obviously the spirit they showed to come back. It looks like with the hit by pitches, the walks, maybe whoever was pitching for the Galaxy at the time just hasn't had it. Either they've lost it, or they've brought someone in who just couldn't find the zone, unfortunately for them. Got to give it up to the Devils.
Yeah, like I said, congratulations to them. I guess now it's the fight for number 2. So that's going to be an interesting battle to see who wins that one. We're down to it's the last games of the season this weekend, right? So the
last week of the regular season is this Sunday. There is a make-up week the following weekend. There are 2 outstanding games due to COVID protocols from earlier in the season. I think it was week 2 of the year.
Right. Yeah.
So there's still that to look forward to, and there's obviously the development league, which is still hasn't been settled. So let's why don't we touch on the development league? The Comets are 7-1 and 1 through 9 games in the development league. The Devils are 7-2 and 1. So effectively, the loss that they had this past weekend in the development league means that the Comets' future is very much in our own hands from a development standpoint. If we can manage to win our remaining games, then we would take that inaugural developmental league title. So basically, what we're saying is we need to find a position that Jason Stott, Albert, Sani, and and who else we got? We need to, if we can get David back over in time, find a position they haven't played yet, and stack that lineup.
To be fair,
players.
Our actual development team's been doing it all themselves just fine. They've been really, really good this year.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't know anything about that.
All right, so we should expect an unusual lineup next weekend. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, we've got this new kid. His name's John Nelson, right? He's never played a game of baseball in his life. Yes. But we think we're going to chuck him at first base, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's just big from picking up all those large rocks. I don't know. We'll see if it translates to baseball or not, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Comets are on top with 7-1 and 1. You mean? Says Christopher Kelly. That's true. Yeah, we are one game ahead in the loss column. So there's that. We've got a ton of comments here that we will jump into before we go into the league standings, and then we'll get to the interview section with Andy. Chris Kelly again that says Tayport poaching players controversial. Andrew Sway acquiring surely. Panda C Alexander says he's the devil. Smoking like a galaxy. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Chris. There's no galaxy representation here whatsoever, as my hat and that jersey would show 5 Mercy rule after 5 innings. Yeah, that was Mercy ruled, wasn't it? That game. It was like after 4 or 5 innings.
Our game.
Yeah.
Comets game. Yeah, 4.5 innings because we didn't bat bottom of the fourth. Basically, Aberdeen had their five innings at bats, and Bill called it.
Yeah, I mean, quite something. Yeah, okay. Chris Kelly says, I said I wanted 100 before the 4th inning. I'm not sure that that's humanly possible, Chris, but we'll try next week. Being down 22-2 in 3 innings, the game should stop and keep playing after that. I don't think that there is a provision in the rulebook this season for mercy rulings before the 5th, with the exception of the development league. Am I right in saying that?
As far as I know, there is nothing there. I don't know if that's going to come in or not. So I think probably. I mean, remember, this is all trial, so we're all learning on the fly. So I got a feeling the next coming season there'll probably more standardized rules on who can play, who can't, and we'll know more that way. So we can't speculate on what's going to happen and what's not. But I imagine we won't see so many scores like that anymore.
Yeah. Again, my teammate Chris Kelly. I got to leave the room for a comeback. That's baseball, not over till the final rally. Mark Nisbet says Glasgow's dev team has been mainly rookies and first-year players, and we've been pulling the wins out. Don't count us out. I think mathematically, Mark, we need to at this point. I think it's between the Comets and the Devils at this stage in the development league. But yeah, thanks everyone for commenting. Please do continue, and I'll get to them. I'll get to as many of them as I can. Let's have a wee look here at the standings. If I can somehow manage to bring them up.
Well, we know the Devils are on top, and then we know it's...
So the AAA standings, I've got them right here.
All right, you found them.
For your 2021 season after 10 weeks of play, Edinburgh Diamond Devils are first and have clinched the championship with 9 wins and 1 loss. A tremendous season from the Devils again. There's no superlative that you can use at this point that would accurately summarise how good they've been on a consistent basis. The Cannons and Comets are tied in second with 6 wins and 3 losses. The Granite City Oilers are in 4th place with 4 wins, 5 losses. The Galaxy are in 5th with 3 wins and 6 losses, and the Tayport Breakers winless in 10. So that's the standings as we go into the final weekend of the regular season. Let's take a wee look at the Scottish Development League standings. Glasgow Comets, as we've established, are 7-1-1 and are a game ahead in the loss column of the Diamond Devils. I believe, Jason, that would make the Comets a half game up, if I understand the way these standings and things work correctly.
Yep, sounds about right.
Yeah, so that's half a game. When you factor in the random tie, I don't know, is that like
I don't know how this is all. I think that it's going to end on a coin flip. I think that's where we're going to finish this season.
The Comets are 3/4 of a game up in first place, let's say. Glasgow Galaxy in third place are 5-4. The Breakers development team have been faring a lot better than the AAA team. They are sitting on a 4-6 record in fourth place. The Edinburgh Cannons are 3-5 in the development league, and the Granite City Development Oilers are 0-8. I'm not sure how they can be 0-8 after 10 weeks of play. They've played 9 games.
They might have had enough people for a developmental game. Never know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like I said.
Yeah, it looks like the Cannons and Oilers may have a development game that's been chucked. So with this being a trial this season, that was always a possibility and something that might happen. So all to play for in the top two. The title in the Development League is still to be won. It's interesting that we have a game in hand, so to speak, on the Devils. So if we can win this weekend in the development game and then win the development game on the make-up week, that would make the Comets champions. If we lose either of those two, it's going to be very much dependent on what happens in the Devils development games. So it's exciting last couple of weeks ahead. Although the AAA title has been wrapped up, there's still a lot to look forward to in these last couple of weeks. And
absolutely,
then, course,
like I said, we have developmental season wrapping up here, and obviously who's going to get second place and get that bye for the Caledonian Cup.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great stuff. Let's move on from that, and let's talk to my boy Andy here. Andy Vaughn, you are a member of the Glasgow Comets. You primarily play in the corner outfield, usually left field, a position that I know pretty well. You
said left field, not left bench. John, yeah, come on, I'm going there with that. You know left bench really well.
I'll have you know, he inherited that position from me. Prick.
Which
anyway,
one,
Andy, let's. Am I still the host? Can I mute him?
Nope, it's too late now. You're in trouble.
Okay, so Andy, let's first off get into how you became involved with baseball. But to get into that, we probably should talk about how you became interested in the sport. So talk to us about who you root for, how long, and how you got there.
Okay, so you can probably see behind me there. There's an Indians ball and an Indians hat. So the Indians has really always been my team. Ever since I saw the film Major League as a small child, and Charlie Sheen's character had the same surname as me. So Vaughn 99 on the mound for the Cleveland Indians in Major League really sort of started it all for me way back in the day. I didn't actually get into then really loving MLB though for a good few years. But I'm probably strange because I came to the game to play the game after having fallen in love being a spectator, because I know a lot of the guys certainly in the Glasgow teams have played since childhood. I didn't actually start playing until 2018 when I was 32 years old. So I guess you could say I was a very late rookie.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a rookie you were. You brought, I think, a lot of transferable skills from golf, which is a sport that you quite enjoy. Normally, I don't say the nicest things about golf on this show.
I know you don't.
But tonight I'm going to behave myself. I've got my good boy cap on this evening. But how do you feel that golf helps beyond the swing? Do you feel that there's anything in the field that you take from golf?
Definitely. I guess one of the things that you learn so I grew up playing golf and I became quite a good golfer. And one of the things you learn is that it's all feet up. You know, you see people swinging their arms but the swing is the foundation comes from your feet and from weight transfer during the swing, and that's how you generate power. And it's very similar to batting in baseball. If you're just going to go up and swing your arms at it, you're not going to be very successful. So I guess I came with that already, that sort of knowledge and hand-eye coordination of being able to hit something with a stick, to put it in total layman's terms. But the swings themselves are obviously different. The golf ball's stationary, so I find that a lot easier. No one's trying to blow it by you or spin it past you.
So, question for you, Andy: what are you playing off currently?
My handicap currently is 12.
Okay.
When I was a youngster, when I was 16, 17 years old, it was 4. And then that thing happens where you go to uni, you discover booze and fags and nights out and girls, and your priorities go elsewhere. And golf is not especially in Glasgow, golf is not a cheap game to be involved in. And you turn 18 and they hit you with gents fees for club membership. And I'm a student with no income or little income. I just couldn't afford it. So I took maybe a sort of 10, 11-year break and only recently got back into it. Around the same time that I got into baseball and met John and started playing for the Comets, sort of 2018.
So you did, the appeal wasn't to go to maybe St. Andrews, to go to uni there because they get inexpensive golf on the old course. That didn't come across your thought process.
It maybe should have done, Jason. I actually was born and bred in Glasgow. Although my dad's family's all from Dundee. I spent a lot of time in Dundee, and I'm delighted that there's now a team in Tayport, because I can sort of weekend it over there now. I'm a big Dundee United fan. I'm a huge sports fan in general, and I've been going to all their games for years and years. So delighted to see somewhere happen in Dundee. But I went to uni in Glasgow. At the University of Strathclyde, but then the first proper job I took was down in Hull, and I lived in Hull for 3 years between sort of 2010 and 2012, but drove back every weekend. So I sort of midweek lived in Hull, and came back up to Scotland, and that's when I first bought my first baseball glove, because I went to training with the Hull Scorpions for a few times.
Right.
And in 2012, I think I maybe went to 4 or 5 of their training sessions. Wasn't there at weekends, didn't ever play in any games, and then I relocated back up to Scotland in 2012. So after 4 or 5 training sessions, that glove went in the cupboard for 6 years, and then came back out when I went along to the winter training of the Glasgow Baseball Association. I'm really glad I did, because it's a great sport to be part of. The community is brilliant, and the players are brilliant from all the different teams.
So it's interesting you mentioned Hull. Did you ever get a train with Gavin Marshall?
I probably did. I mean, I may have done.
Right.
I was really new. Like, right. That was my first glove I ever bought, and I just turned up. So if Gavin Marshall was good, I probably wouldn't have thrown a ball with him. They would have put me in a corner.
Yeah, so Gavin Marshall's one of those legendary people throughout British baseball. He was one of the first people to sign a professional contract and played independent ball for, I believe it was the 1 season there. And so he played for the Hull Scorpions. He played for a lot of teams there, but I definitely remember he was down at Hull last time I saw him there, and that would have been 2006. So
oh no, I was later than that.
Yes, yeah. But I thought maybe like the name everyone knows. You mentioned anyone in British baseball that's played for a while. You mentioned Gavin Marshall, everyone knows who he is. So I thought, man, the off chance there, but I'm sure probably Kevin McGavin was probably still in charge around that.
Probably, I can't really remember. As I say, I only went like 4 or 5 times, and I was wet behind the ears, and just try my best to fit in really, and not drop the ball and throw it properly. So, but hey, that's something I'm still trying to do.
Sorry, John, I just took over right there. So back to you.
It's your show as well, Jason. It's not my show. It's yours.
I wanted to get the golf chat in because you were going to let the golf chat happen.
I told you I'm behaving myself this week.
I think all 3 of us should go golfing, John. I need a caddy.
Oh shit! I just dropped something that broke a toe.
We did actually. A few of the Comets went golfing last year. Myself, Gordon McLaren, Albert Rodriguez, and John Nelson played a round of golf. Yeah. And John can obviously hit the ball far, but Albert is an incredibly good golfer.
Really?
Yeah, he is. Maybe not as consistent, but he can pull off shots like that seem impossible. So
not too dissimilar to his baseball play then.
Exactly.
He does magical things for 2 weeks, and then he's just Albert. He's just what else can you say?
I mentioned we all know Albert's a very talented athlete. I mean, I've seen him kick a ball around out there. So, I never thought it crossed my mind that he'd be good at golf as well. I'm sure with a bit of practice, he'd probably be a pretty good golfer.
I reckon with a bit of practice, he's the sort of guy that would be good at anything.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not football with the way he kind of limps around the bases. But, how much of that is real and how much is showmanship, who knows? But anyway, let's move on now, Andy, to your start as a Comet. You went to 2018 winter training.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the feeling of joining the club for the first time, finding out you're going to be a Comet, and let's go from there. Like, talk about your rookie season and some of the experiences you had then.
Sure. So the rookie season was brilliant because everyone was so accepting. Everyone, they didn't, you turn up, you're friends with everyone instantly. Everyone's talking to you. Everyone wants to play. Everyone includes everyone. And the Glasgow Baseball Association is really good for that. And then I went to a few training sessions, got put into the Comets team. At the time, it was managed by John Nelson. In 2018, they didn't have a dev league, development league. Obviously, we're talking about how brand new that is. They didn't have that in 2018. So my first few games, I was one of those annoying guys that always turned up. Turned up to every game. It wasn't expecting game time, just happy to sit on the bench and score it. I probably take some credit for introducing iScore to the Comets and for us having a statistical database of all our games and all individuals' stats for the last 3 or 4 years, starting that off. So I'd sit in the bench and quite happily score the game. And I guess I was kind of fortunate that we weren't very good in 2018, which meant that if we were getting blown out, I'd get some game time in the last couple of innings. And I'd learned from there. And John actually played center field a couple of times. Don't know if you remember, John, that John Nelson would play center field. So he was obviously the coach, and he put me in at right field because I was untested and brand new, and call me onto the ball, tell me what I should be doing, where I should be at any point in time, and that really helped with my development as a player. Just those few innings at the end of games, with him essentially talking me through the entire process. And yeah, so sort of started from there. I'm massive on stats. I love stats. I love score. I actually enjoy scoring the game. I find it really, really interesting. Stats is one of the reasons I actually got into baseball properly as a fan. I used to, as I say, when I lived in Hull, I used to do so much driving. I'd come back to Glasgow every weekend. I'd drive around the country for my job, and I'd always listen to Baseball Today, the ESPN podcast with Keith Law, who's now the chief baseball writer at The Athletic. So he was one of my absolute heroes. Him and Eric Carabell, who does the fantasy shows now, and they did this Baseball Today podcast that ended a few years back because I don't think it was so popular because it was sabermetrics heavy. And I know, John, you've spoken about sabermetrics in the past. You're not the biggest fan of it, but I'm a huge sabermetrics fan. I run a sports betting podcast. I'm a big sports gambler. Numbers and sports are my thing. So obviously baseball, that's the perfect fusion for meaningful numbers and sports.
I think that's because you're an Indians fan, and so you're a small market team, so you have to know those numbers there. Yeah. Where John's a Yankees fan, we just go, well, here's 200 million. All right, put a team together, the best guys we can, and make sure they're all over 30 and falling apart. So,
well, those old broken guys have won 10 in a row as of right now, Jason. So works for me. I don't mind.
You guys have one more win than us.
Well, that doesn't matter.
It does for the wild card. Anyways, this is Andy's show.
Exactly.
We don't want to hear about your Yankee stuff here. Come on, let's talk about it.
You brought it up.
Sorry, I'm being cheeky today. I can't help myself.
Somebody could have been doing with having 1 fewer cups of coffee like today.
It could quite possibly be because I am going out at 9, so this is why.
Yes. So on that note, then let's get back to Andy and let him tell his story.
that was pretty much it. That was the first season, scoring a lot of the games, learning. Obviously, but when you do that, you learn so much about the game. I thought I knew a lot about it from just being into the numbers and the side of things, but actually sitting there and having to score it properly and go through everyone's stats, and you get a better understanding of what's going on than just merely spectating, because you're having to concentrate on everything. And getting more game time towards the end of innings really set me up for the next year. And then 2019, John Nelson took a step back. Gio Coulter became the manager, long-standing Glasgow Comet. And I think in 2019, we really had a ragtag bunch of guys. He had a few vets to work with. John, you weren't playing all season that year. I don't remember you being. I think you had Did you have other commitments at the time? And
yes, I was about to become a dad, so I think I
that
spent quite a lot of time getting ready for that.
Yeah. So some of the so you were doing that. Santino, who's come back now, wasn't about in 2019.
Yeah, he was abroad.
You know, we had real rookies, because like myself, like Gordon McLaren, Tristan Ragraggio, like these guys were rookies that year, proper. Not rookies as in they'd played elsewhere and happened to now be doing their first season in Scotland. These were guys that that were playing their very, very first season. And Gio, he had a really tough job, but he guided us through that. And the team that we have now isn't really on paper, in terms of the names, any different to that team that only won, at a 300 winning percentage 2 years ago. We obviously had the off season in 2020. And that's one of the weird things about the Comets this year. I think if clubs looking outside go, that's the same team, they might not be very good. But somehow, just through repetition and through practice, and these guys showing a real commitment to the game, to turn up every week to training, we've got better. And it's the same. And one of the keys that this year we have from not previous years is it's the same guys. Because I think the Comets have maybe suffered with people only playing for a year or two and then leaving. There's been no core to that team, or certainly no stable core to the team that's been able to progress year to year. Whereas we're seeing that now, and we're seeing the results of that. And we're also seeing the results of just the whole ethos and atmosphere. And John, you'll know this better than anyone, being a part of the organization. I mean, the whole thing, John Nelson obviously put a lot of work into our look. We've got home and road uniforms now. Loving the hat. These things don't come out of nowhere, but they give the ethos and they give the presentation of a professional sports team. And therefore, it's more likely that's how you'll then play out in the field. And I think that whole change of attitude has really helped us this year. In fact, the development league has really helped us as well, because we have a lot of very new rookies for this year that are so keen, and just them being there and being on the bench, watching them play the dev game, watching them have fun playing the dev game and be good at it, and then being on the bench and supporting the main team through their game is just so helpful. It's the whole attitude around the club is in a really good place just now.
Absolutely, I would have to concur with that 100%. Particularly regarding the lack of a core for quite a long time. We had a very solid core the first year that the two teams were around, the Comets and Galaxy. Guys like Francis, guys like Kago, guys like Marco, possibly guys you wouldn't even have met or heard of, Andy.
I've never met those guys. So
these guys were basically the heart of our lineup that year, and then they left. And then for several years after that, we just. And credit to Xander, who I've had on the show previously, who talked about this, but credit to him for managing to piece together something that resembled a kind of makeshift core of the team for quite a few years before, obviously, John Nelson and Gio took over the reins. With this season, we've seen the first year of Jason Stott, former Galaxy player and manager, in charge. How do you feel Jason has changed the game with the Comets? Do you feel that his track record of winning as a Galaxy plays much a part into how much better we've been, or would you say that there's other aspects at play there?
Jason is an excellent coach to begin with. He does have a winning track record, absolutely, and he's got a sub-1 ERA this year. I think he'd want everyone to, to know that.
Yeah. I'm surprised that he hasn't. I'm surprised he hasn't messaged me yet to say exactly what it is.
He's got the most doubles in the team and a sub-1 ERA. So he's obviously very helpful to have in the team, in the batting lineup, and as backup on the mound. And having that pitching depth really helped actually this year, because 2 years ago, let's be honest, John, if Albert wasn't available for a game, we were in big trouble.
Yes,
he was throwing hundreds of pitches.
I think did we not work out that he had an average of about 179 pitches per game?
Because he was walking everyone. No, sorry, Albert. Joke.
In fairness, though, by the end of the year, it's a miracle that the guy could lift his arm.
That was so impressive. He held the team together.
Yep.
Because we literally really didn't have anyone else in that 2019 season. Whereas this year, we were fortunate at the beginning of the season that we had David, and obviously he's highly talented. And now we've got Santino, who has been tremendous for us. He throws strikes, he eats innings. He's really, really good. We've still got Albert, he stepped up to the plate. He's done that job, and we've got Jason as well. So we've got 3 quality guys and a bit of pitching depth now. And one of the things that we also have, I would say, is we've got a really strong batting lineup. There's not an easy out in that batting lineup, whereas in previous years, it might have been, you get to the 7, 8, 9 hitters, you can think, oh, it's fine, I'll just throw them strikes and they'll either strike out swinging or there'll be weak contact. I think opposing pitchers now looking at our lineup go, oh, there's no easy out. This is okay. The top half is really good, but the bottom half is solid, and that's a really nice spot to be in. And I think that's probably the reason that we did so well. At the beginning of the season, I don't think anyone would have expected us to be 4-0. I certainly didn't.
No.
So we sort of exceeded expectations a little bit. And while we're not going to be able to win the championship this year, congratulations, obviously, go to the Devils. We went there last week in what was quite an important game, and they absolutely demolished us. So, you take your shot, and on this occasion, we were outdone by better opponents. But I think in terms of expectation, we far exceeded expectation this year, and Jason has played a massive part in that. He obviously has.
Yeah. Now I wanted to ask you, we had pinned a lot of our hopes on David Einar Torres as pitcher. We had pinned a lot of our hopes on John Nelson as DH. Now, neither of those guys have been around, as it turned out. Who do you feel on the team, or do you feel there's any one particular individual on the team, I should say, that has really stepped up and put the team on their back? I know you mentioned Sani, and I think he might be, if I were to be asked the same question, I think I would probably say Santino would be my answer. But who would your answer be in terms of a guy who you feel has stepped up? Bearing in mind, Jason, that Andy, who we're speaking to here, has had a phenomenal season at the plate himself. I think you're at 14 runs batted in for the season now.
I am. I'm at 14 RBIs. Yeah,
you pull up the iScore right now. Yeah, 14 RBIs, 7 doubles, 8 stolen bases.
Yeah,
my OPS is over 400. I'm doing great.
14 RBIs, but that wasn't the thing I wanted to work on this year. The thing I wanted to work on this year was not striking out. And I've only had 2 Ks this year out of 36 plate appearances. So I'll take that. That was my main thing. You put the ball in play in this league, and things happen. So there's my sort of sabermetrics brain was working on that over the off season, going right. If people make errors, the ball takes crazy hops. We all know these Scottish fields.
What are you talking about? Everyone's field's like a putting green. What are you talking about?
well, ours certainly isn't, and we play half our games there, slightly over half our games there. So
right.
Put the ball in play. That's what it's all about. But in terms of someone that's carried the team, Santino. As a pitcher, throwing that many pitches that he's thrown this year and taking us to that many wins has been absolutely huge for us. In terms of the bats, Ian Davidson has been tremendous. I think Ian's played 1 season before down south. I couldn't tell you who for. But this is right there. You go, Liverpool Trojans. But he's come up here. He's uni here, and he has been absolutely brilliant. I think he's got a 500 batting average, 10 hits out of 20 at bats, and he hits the ball hard and he hits it far.
Have you got iScore up there?
I've always got data. God, I run a betting podcast. True. Like, I have so many tabs open. You need to know your stuff and be able to reference it instantly. Yeah. So I've got all the Comets stuff here. But
So,
yeah, Ian has been really, really, really good.
yeah, I completely agree with you regarding Ian. I know that last weekend when we were in Edinburgh, he pitched. I think it was one inning in the Bev game.
Yeah.
And he kept us from losing that. Obviously, it ended in a tie, but I think that his pitching in contact helped us to avoid the loss that day, which obviously is what leaves us in this position that we're in now, where we could potentially win the inaugural development league. So I think Ian has been a kind of a dark horse MVP type player that we've had this year, and I would agree with you there. Obviously, we've mentioned Sani, and obviously Jason's impact as coach, and also what he brings to the team on the field as well.
I'll give a little shout out for Tristan Ragraggio as well. He's been really good. He was a rookie in 2019.
Yeah.
Tristan in car journeys up to Aberdeen, we obviously talk baseball. I put on baseball podcast. He doesn't watch MLB. He doesn't really listen to baseball or know anything about baseball. The only time he ever has any interaction with baseball is when he turns up at the field and plays, and he is great. And he has been used everywhere. So
He has, yeah.
when you say I predominantly play left field, I've played every inning in left field, like nowhere else. That's why I'm in my 30s now. Like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? This is the only trick I know. Whereas Tristan has been shortstop, second base. I'm sure he spent time at third. He's played right field. Like, they put him anywhere, and he's been great at it every single time. So from a utility point of view in the field, he's been absolutely tremendous.
Definitely. And while we're having a love-in with our teammates here, I think I would have to give a shout to Big Craig as well, Craig Waddle, the development catcher, who has also spent some time in right field in the AAA games. I think the work that he's put in has really started to pay off this season, from both behind the plate. Obviously, he's become a better catcher. His blocking has improved. His arm's really good. He's got a tremendous arm on him. He's also done really well at the plate as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone from a guy who I don't think had the most confidence at the plate in previous seasons, but now you look at him up there and he looks like he knows he goes out of the box with a plan now, and he's been able to execute that plan quite a lot, particularly in the single A games, but definitely at the AAA level as well. He's done his bit. So Big Craig, shout out to you.
In last week's game, actually, in the development game, he had 2 plate appearances and 2 hits. We only had 3 hits in total. 2 of them were him. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you'll be happy to know that I'm coming back next week. My hamstring is fine. So
Superb.
I'm coming back. I'll be back. I'll be playing I'll be fielding my position as well, not just DH in this time.
Good news.
Yeah. Let's move on to something you've mentioned a couple of times. We'll wrap things up here. Trample Bet, your sports betting podcast. Talk to us a wee bit about that. Plug that for the viewers and listeners.
Sure. So the Trampled Bet podcast, it's been running for 4 years now. It was myself and John Walker started that 4 years ago. John runs a sister podcast called Scots Abroad. It's got a pretty big following. It's always brought up in the press. It's about Scottish footballers that play overseas. But the betting podcast came out, just phoned me one day. It was like, we've got this. I've paid for this podcast studio. Do you fancy? I know you like sports betting. Do you fancy doing a podcast? And it sort of started from there, and we've been actually very successful over the 4 years, and it's turned into a regular fixture in many people's diaries. Gordon McLarnon, who's a Glasgow Comet, is also a host, and we brought Gordo on. He's been on from sort of the end of the second season onwards as well. So it's on all podcast channels, as it were, your Google Podcasts, your Spotify, wherever you can find ball caps and bagpipes, you can find the Trampled Bet as well. It's pretty statistics heavy. It's obviously only about gambling, so there's if you're not a fan of sports betting, it's maybe not for you. It's got a very niche audience, but a niche audience that follows us through thick and thin. We had Italy to win the Euros, and at last season's postseason, we predicted the whole NL side of the playoffs, and then the eventual winners and the Dodgers. So yeah, we do baseball, we do soccer, we do darts, horse racing. They're the sort of main sports I like, and then the other guys that are involved do the more, I guess, athletic style of things. UFC and more contact physical sports. I stay away from them. I stick to my darts and my golf and my baseball.
all three of us are firmly in the realm of dad bod sports rather than like athletic sports. So I know
I disagree with that. I play pickleball and paddle, so I am not. That's not a dad bod sport.
To be fair, you made me look like a fool last week playing basketball, so there is that.
I know, I am out of shape, but yes, yeah, we are the dad bod sport. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So how regularly is Trample Bet released?
It's weekly.
When does it drop?
It's weekly. It drops on Thursdays. We also have a Patreon channel where we do a whole load of extra content. So there's a show about soccer for the weekend ahead, and it's released every Thursday on all the normal podcast channels. And then our Patreon content goes into all the extra stuff. So any big horse racing meetings, darts events, major golf championships, major tennis tournaments, that's all over there. But the sort of free to air normal stuff is every Thursday. And you can find us at Trampled Bet Podcast. You can, just search Google for the Trampled Bet, and you'll find us. You'll find us there.
Superb. One last question for me, Andy.
Yeah.
As we move beyond the 2021 season into 2022 and further along, what are your expectations and what are your goals for the next couple of seasons coming up?
Expectations and goals. I'd love to get that contact percentage to 1,000. That'd be cool. That'd be really good to go a whole season without striking out. It's a personal goal of mine. I would love the Comets to win something. To actually win one of the official terms, and I think we've got a good shot this year in the Caledonia Cup. I really do. But if we can keep the momentum ticking over into next year, at the beginning of this year, I would have taken a winning record. That would have been my goal for the. I would have been happy if the Comets had got a winning record. The fact we started so well, and we potentially, we could have ran them really close. If the Galaxy had held on at the end of last week instead of blowing that lead, we'd still be in the hunt. We'd still be in the hunt this week. We were packing our gear up at the end, thinking the Galaxy were going to win that game because we'd heard they were 8-2 up, and by the time we'd got the fence down, it was over. So that's the side you don't hear about.
Yeah,
you hear about the celebrations, you don't hear about the other side. But yeah, over the next couple of years, John, I would love to see. I'd love to see the Comets win something. And I think we're in a good place. We can keep the same core guys together, and we've got such a good development squad coming through. And they'll build their way into the first team, and then suddenly we've got depth, not just in pitching, but in the field and batting as well. And then those away days become less problematic when people can't make it. So absolutely. Next 3 years, John, we'll be champions.
We will be champions. What will be champions of? We're not entirely sure yet.
Not entirely sure. And if Jason's right, it goes in 3-year cycles.
Yeah,
it might be 3 years time.
Yeah. We need to wait for Edinburgh's run to end. Jason, do you have anything else?
Yeah. So since we're on the subject of gambling, so what do you think about Mariners' odds of making the playoffs?
Oh man, you can't just hit me with that. Come on, I need to. What are their odds?
They're currently 1.5 games out of the wild card. So it's the Red Sox, Yankees, and last time I checked, it was like 3%. But if you are the Blue Jays, who are actually a game and a half behind, it's like a 60% chance for them because of the damn Orioles.
What I would say, Jason, is you look at that 3%. You go on Odds Checker. Check the odds that you're currently getting given. And if your expected value is better than that 3%, you take the bet.
My Mariners are due for some regression, so I don't think they're going to make it here at all. So I'm very aware. I'm just riding that high while I can now. And the other bet I was going to say is, what are your odds on the Indians actually being the Galaxy next year, considering they've got to change their name and decide that a roller derby team and how much they got paid out for their team?
It's really interesting that obviously I've got a load of Indians merch. I've been buying it for years now. And funnily enough, my friends, they take this because we don't win very often, do we? And the one chance we did have, we blew it against the Cubs. But they've all been messaging me going, do you know what? See, this year, now's the perfect year that you could change your allegiance to an actual good team because the Indians won't exist.
That's true.
But yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So I may be a Guardians fan next year. Maybe I'll heed their advice, and I could support. I couldn't support someone else. I've already, you pick your team. That's your team, isn't it?
It's your team, yeah.
I'm Cleveland all the way. I'm Cleveland all the way, unfortunately. So I look forward to having to spend a whole load of money on new merch next year to get the new logos, the new jerseys.
Yeah, that's it. I hope it goes through soon enough that people can start getting those hats and jerseys. I actually like it. I think it's a really good design for them. I think it was a good name for them. They really did the research for them, so I think they couldn't go wrong. But like you said, Major League always has that spot in my heart, and there'll always be the Indians, and there'll always be Joe Boo and everything else there too.
Yeah, for me too, Jason. For me too.
I just find it ironic that not only does Ricky Vaughn have the same last name as you, but he wore your number.
Yeah.
You're an inspiration, Andy.
I had to pick 99, didn't I? Like, there's no way you can have the surname Vaughn and not wear 99.
Absolutely.
Okay, got a couple more comments that I'll just quickly run through. Where were we? So, the Tayport Baseball Club says, tuned in late, but for the record, Shin Yen has been on our roster and actually on our charter with the local council since 2019. We are glad that he and his family have finally been able to fully move into our catchment area and look forward to getting him settled in the blue and gold. So it looks like he will be a long-term pickup for them. Massive acquisition for the Tayport Breakers. Saeed Dickey says, can't wait to see the legend back on the mound again. I believe he's referring to Shin Yen. Chris Kelly wants to know, how do you score an error in golf?
That's in reference to Albert, obviously. So
iScore is an underappreciated addition, mate. It's fantastic, says Chris. Big Andy Sweeney of the Galaxy. You can take the credit for the Galaxy scoring as well. I just copied your idea. Chris says, yep, stability is the real difference. We actually know who's going to turn up week to week. He also concurs with a shout out to Ian and Tristan's utility value. Mark Alexander Nisbet says, I'm looking forward to catching out Gordo again on Sunday, build on the last game. And Danny Quinn says, Andy Vaughn, Gold Glove 2021, make it happen. I don't know, you're the stats guy, Andy. How's your fielding percentage looking?
Yeah, it's perfect this year. But I think I've only had 2 putouts. The ball doesn't really get generally hit near me, which was emphasized last week when I played in left field for almost all of it, apart from one inning where I get moved into center and then the ball was just hit straight into left field.
Always happens. As soon as you're in a position you don't know, the ball will always come to you.
Absolutely bizarre. But yeah, no, nice to hear Danny in there. I have to actually say, Danny's obviously our center fielder. And one of the reasons that the Comets have done so well this year is having him in center field, directing me in left, and usually Gordon in right. Danny really controls that, and having a good solid center fielder that's as talented as Danny and as fast as Danny, because he can cover all of center, a bit of right and a bit of left. It makes my job easier. Yeah,
I know what you mean. I used to obviously play left field alongside Danny. And he was always the same with me, just always constantly talking. Always, I mean, I never listened, which is why we collided twice at high speed. He's much faster than I am, but I'm a pretty hefty guy, so that always ended well. But yeah, Danny is a gem to play with. He's also coached the development team as well. It's important to, I think, mention that Danny has been the coach of the development players and has done a fantastic job stepping into that role. Let's call it a night there, boys, because Jason has to run out in pretty much now. Thank you so very much, Andy, for joining us on the show, mate, and I'll see you this Sunday, brother.
I will do. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me, John, Jason. Really appreciate it.
Do you have any links you want to plug before we...
plug your show. Let us know.
Have a search for the Trampled Bet podcast on Google. Find it at Amazon Music, Spotify, whatever it is. If gambling's your thing, you'll like it. If gambling's not your thing, you probably won't like it. Don't bother.
18 plus only. Please gamble responsibly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw this out there for you, Andy. I think you're going to be in charge of the Scottish National League golf tournament, and we're going to have to get something like that organized and put something together with everyone to go golfing one day.
I would love that.
Comets poker night to arrange. Don't give any more work.
Poker night's easy, like I said, but a golf night where anyone shows up from in the league and plays.
Have you ever drank with Albert? Nothing is ever easy when it comes to the Comets. There needs to be a full health and safety check done on the place before we have any kind of night out.
Do you know what? I'll do that, Jason. I'll take that as an action following this Zoom meeting. Golf night.
Yeah, we have a golf weekend or a golf day where we go. We did in Edinburgh for a long time, where we had the end of the year golf tournament, and there was a lot of guys who had never played before, and it took 6 hours. It was the longest day.
I'll tell you what golf day I'll take part in. Midnight golf. Midnight golf would be fucking great, especially if it took place in like a quarry. So it's like golf in a quarry at midnight. I'm in.
I'll tell you who's got a great golf course in their doorstep. Scott's Great Golf Course right next to the Tayport Breakers Field is one of the best golf courses in the country. So perhaps that might be something I can talk to Jason West about.
I see we organized it for wherever the award show is. So if the award show is in Aberdeen, there's a golf day, then everyone goes golfing if they want, and then go to the award show. So
it was Aberdeen, the last one we had. So I think that will come.
Edinburgh next
that's
again,
the furthest away. It must be Edinburgh, or maybe
I believe it's Edinburgh again next.
If it was Tayport or Dundee, could easily happen.
Yeah, there we go. We should organize it that way. So at the end of the year night, we do the golf during the day, and then you do the thing at night. We could do this.
Yeah, I'll have a word with someone up there. I'm going to be spending more time than I'd like to in Dundee in the near future.
If you're ever up at the weekend, John, I'll take you to Tannadice.
Sounds good, man. I look forward to it. We should totally get along to a game. We both support two of the most woeful teams in Scotland over the last few years, but yeah, it should be interesting. Yeah, so let's call it a night there, guys. You need to go, Jason. Andy, again, thanks so very much. Thanks to everyone who's watched or will listen. One last comment. Make it mini golf, and I'm in, says Tayport. And Jason Stott wants to play pub golf, which...
I think we go either way. Yeah, either way. The guys that don't want to go play the 18 holes can do mini golf or pub golf, and we can all hit the links.
Yeah. So quickly to run through the links, check us on Twitter. We're at Caps and Pipes. Facebook, it's Ball Caps and Bagpipes. Search Ball Caps and Bagpipes on your podcast platform of choice. There's also the NLBM Art Podcast. Just do the same. Visit Instagram. It's Ball Caps and Bagpipes. And
we're going to get a website and we'll have everything on there.
Yes. I am going to be working on the website in the off season, and that's going to be the plan there. And then we're going to come back for season 4 with some really cool stuff that we can talk about down the road. I'll just say Bobby Bonilla and good night.
Right, guys, take care.